Hi, it's Miss Andrea from the Aurora Public Library District. Does your home decor feel bare with the holiday decorations down? Well, there are plenty of winter days still ahead of us, unfortunately. So let's make it festive and learn how to make some paper snowflakes to decorate with. I'm going to show 2 simple folding techniques that work best for children, and then 2 slightly more complex ones that are great for teens and adults. And if you're looking for more craft tutorials, make sure to check out the library's YouTube page for a 3D snowflake tutorial and more craft and STEM ideas. Cutting these snowflakes is a great way for your children to practice their cutting skills, with adult supervision, of course. Working the fine motor muscles in their hands and fingers will help develop the skills they need to not only cut, but to grip a writing utensil more precisely. Copy paper, tissue paper, wrapping paper scraps, mail catalogs, wax paper, origami paper.
I'm going to start with the basic folds. So the first one is the one that I remember doing when I was a kid, but the problem is I can't start with a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. This one requires you to start with a square piece of paper. If you've got square paper, awesome. Origami paper comes out as a square, but if you don't, it's easy to make a square. So you just take it, fold it on the diagonal so it lines up on this side, and then you hold it tight and trim off this excess. For some reason, when I was a kid, this step just always drove me crazy. So it will help. I've got some other folding techniques that don't require your paper to start as a square. Okay, so now you've got a triangle. My folded edge is right here. And then you bring this guy up to here. And then you fold it in half one more time. Whoops, that wasn't very even. Let me try again. There we go. So this guy right here is the center point of your snowflake. As you can see, if you open it up a little bit, that's the midpoint. So now you just do some cutting. I personally like to always cut off that center point, and I like to do it at an angle, either this way or that way, because then it'll make a nice kind of star shape in the middle. And then since this is the child's one, I'm just going to do some basic cuts. Go big or go home. Tiny little cuts won't make the dramatic effect that you want. You can cut off the edges. The most important part is never to cut all of a side. So I still have this fold here, and I still have these folds intact here. You never want to cut off the whole thing, otherwise it's going to fall apart. Pretty basic, simple snowflake for your kids. The next simple folding technique does not start with a square. Yay! You can do it with an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So first you fold it hot dog way. Then you fold it hamburger way. Then, since this is the center point of my paper, if I unfold it I can see that. This corner is my center. I'm going to fold on a diagonal here. And then on this side I've got this little line, and here I am going to trim that off. So if you're still trimming, to get your square eventually, it's just in a different way. So here's my center point again. I'm going to make a curvy line this time. And a curvy line over there. And let's chop off the edge. And a little triangle. Ta-da! Well, that one's kind of goofy looking. No 2 snowflakes are ever alike. You never know what you're going to get. Now we're going to do the 2 more complex folds. That'll be easier for older kids, teens, and adults. The first method I learned from Martha Stewart, and this one does require you to start as a square. So you're going to fold that diagonal, line it up on this edge, and making a nice crisp fold, and trimming off the excess. side. So then you fold diagonal again this way. Here's my long fold. Fold it this way. Now I turn it around. So here's my point up here, and it's open on the bottom. This is the kind of tricky part. I like to put my finger up here, and you're going to fold this into thirds. So kind of hold there, and fold this guy over, and fold this guy over, and you just kind of eyeball it. I'm looking on the inside and lining up my edges. And when I feel like it's in place and everything lines up, I smush it down. If I go on this side, so I've turned it over, I've got a flat piece right here. And that's where I'm just going to trim the excess. So this is the starting point for my snowflake. Here's the fold, here's the center point, and this edge is open. Again, I always like to make an angle cut either way on the center, because that'll leave a nice open star shape. And I like to make dramatic cuts, so big angles, especially at the top. And since these are the snowflakes that are more intricate, you can do smaller cuts just to make it more detailed. There is no right or wrong way to do this. Of course, you'll find a million different tutorials and pattern ideas for you to make pretty snowflakes, but I really just like making up my own little thing here. Again, the important part is to never cut through the entire fold. So I've still got a little piece of fold right here, right there, and right there. And on this side, I've still got it here and here. No, just here. All right, now we're going to open her up. See, that was only like 4 cuts. That wasn't much at all. Ta-da! That one nice. And it was only a few cuts, so that one was super cool. So that was the Martha Stewart way of starting with a square and then folding it diagonal, diagonal, and then into thirds. The next method is a way that I have been doing for a million years, and I love it because you don't have to start with a square. You can start with an 8.5 by 11 copy paper and fold it in half hamburger way. And then on this way, so my fold is up here. I'm going to fold it in half, but only to mark the center line. So I just squeeze it up there, so now I can see where my center is. So again, this is the tricky part. I'm going to put my finger here. Again, we're kind of folding it into thirds. I bring this down where it kind of points at the corner, but not quite. You can see that it's pointing right there. I'm going to fold this guy over. And again, you're just kind of eyeballing it and squishing it around until it all lines up, and you crisp those folds. And then you fold this guy in half. And on the inside, there's a little part of lower paper right there, and that's where I'm going to trim off the excess. And now here is my starting snowflake. Make a nice center cut and a deep edge cut. One of my tips for cool designs is to cut on top of cuts. So I just made this guy, and now I'm going to make a triangle shape, and now I'm going to go inside this triangle shape and make a skinny little thing. It just makes your designs more intricate. I'm going to cut a little guy in there, and a little guy in there, and let's do one more. Now let's open her up. Ta-da! And there we go. It'll also make for a more interesting display if you make different size snowflakes. So obviously they can only be as big as your starting paper, but it's super easy to make them smaller. All you do is, boop, cut them smaller. And then you can do your design cuts. Obviously, the smaller the snowflake, the trickier it can be to cut it. So just be very careful. But now, you've got a little guy to fill in any small gaps in your display. All different snowflakes cut using different folding techniques. You can see the different shapes and sizes flow together really nicely. And my favorite place to put them at home is taped up in my windows. They look neat during the day, and then at night they really pop when it's dark outside. I hope you pull out some scissors and some paper and try your own at home.